So before we get going with this video, I just want to take you through some photos that I took on the 28th of August 2015, just gone. And there were a lot of witnesses to these lights and these orbs and this other little planet in the sky on this at the time just before the sunset. But if these lights, all these series of lights, spheres, orbs, and this little planet up here, let's have a look at where the planets were on the 28th of August 2015 first. So let's get that up. And that's what you're looking at here. I would have been standing about here with my girlfriend, just staring up, kind of tongue-tied and twisted, just not really believing what we're seeing. So that's where we would have been standing. Now you can see from that image that Venus is directly in front of us, but below the Sun. Mars is also below the Sun. And Jupiter is way behind the Sun. If it appeared anywhere, it would appear above the Sun, slightly to either side maybe, but not that far down. But you wouldn't be able to see it because you wouldn't be able to see it past the bright light of the Sun. It would have to be kind of on this side of the Sun for us to be able to see it. It's none of the planets that I can see there could be whatever this thing is right here. And as for these two spheres and the glow behind, there's no place for it to be up there or on the right of the image here, which is the northern hemisphere of our solar system. And for it to arrive on this side, it has passed through what you're looking at here, which is the ecliptic. As in, you can only get a solar eclipse on this ecliptic line. And for Nemesis and this cluster of planets to be here, when they've been only observed in the southern side, they have already gone through at one point. They have to. Which means, like I say, they're either going to come back, because there's nothing there that can that you can see would be there on that day. Which means if they've got there, they're going to come. They're either going to, like I say, keep going out and stay in the kind of northern aspect of our solar system and eventually just fly back out the other side, or they're going to cut back through. And if they cut back through, then we have to consider where they went through. What's the most logical assumption or guess that we could put together without being NASA from corroborated testimony that we've got at the moment? Where was the most likeliest place it made its way through? Because if we know where it went through, then we can run a line from that point directly through the centre of the Sun, and somewhere along that line, depending on the exit speed and the exit point as it leaves the Sun, we can predict the line that it will exit across the ecliptic. So we've got this sighting of the tail of Nibiru. I have to assume it's that. I don't know it's that, but it's the nearest, most logical guess. This was seen just after sunset, following the Sun down, which means that its position was between us and the Sun. Then this is this thing coming back, and it's kind of in between us and the Sun right now. But it's in, like I say, the northern plane of our solar system. It's above the ecliptic. If we could make an assumption by the information that I'm presenting here, the exit points here, let's run through it. We run midway, you know, mid to late September. That's the midway point. And then 3/4 of the way through, we reach round about November. But then it's really coming in close. If we're on line with that at that point, and it exits here, by the looks of this, if we were due to hit, because that would be the most likeliest time, somewhere along this line, leading into into December, is going to be the line of crunch point. But the Earth changes going on from this point here, from early November. The real Earth changes of this, if we're on line with this when it exits at this point along this line here, it will be, as far as I can see, in December. But November round here is the midway point between the two. That's where you absolutely have to be where you want to be by that time, as far as I can see. My logic, you've got till November to get to where you want to best be to deal with this. And that's what this video is all about, because that time in November is a critical time. So hello there, Dave Dobbs here, otherwise known as David Field for my writing, or specifically my book Laughing Gas, but most people know me as Dave Dobbs because of my satirical political activism. But I'm here, I'm up in the Pyrenees, and I've been putting out this whole news about Nibiru coming in, this thing that's coming in from our second binary sun, the binary sun to our own sun that comes by supposedly every 3,600 years, and there's a lot of stuff coming up and there's a lot of videos coming up about that. And so this video is about fundamentally three things. First is going to be Cern. We're going to briefly touch on Cern, then we're going to talk about Nemesis or Planet X or Nibiru or whatever you call it, and or whatever you've come to know it as, and then we're going to talk about what this is really all about, which is your birthrights, our birthrights. And so, okay, so if we start with Cern, we know that, when they first fired it up on the 10th of the 9th of the 8th, or 10th of the 9th, 2008, it was very, very quickly that they got it, this 27-kilometre ring underground tunnel where they were rotating protons, or hadrons, at 11,000 times in 1 second. That was the speed they got it up to. And then the more power you add to that, they don't go faster. You can only get it up to 99.999% of the speed of light. But then you start putting more and more and more power in, and what happens is the proton starts getting heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier, almost like it's gold or something like that, or much heavier. It starts getting this enormous density to it, or it starts behaving like it's got enormous mass. And then you get a proton going the opposite direction, and the plan is to collide them at the highest amount of energy now that they can get into them on the 23rd of September. And so what's that all about? What are they really trying to do? And there's a tremendous argument, there's an age-old argument of whether light is a wave or a particle, and I'm not a particle physicist, but nonetheless I've definitely tried to understand what's going on. And what I am is, my speciality is a channel. I've been brought up by channels. I come from a family of channels, and I've had this whole narrative that's been unfolding in my own life, and it's brought this crazy message through to me that explained to me over the last kind of like 9 years what's really been happening on this earth. And it's been a very difficult message for me to understand. you know, that's why I wrote Laughing Gas, which was to try and go through this whole journey and trying to understand this message that has been coming into me. And so we're going to see this big thing going off on the 23rd, or attempting to go off on the 23rd. But the message I've been given is that Cern can't function if this Earth is not completely at war. You know, it has to be beyond saving for the Large Hadron Collider to work, because the big gods, the real gods that really created this plane, will not allow this plane to be destroyed unless it is completely and utterly destroyed, with it being destroyed and torn apart by war. And so we have to understand that as we get closer and closer to the 23rd of September, to the designated time when they're going to collide these particles, these massively heavy particles, when they collide, for this to work, they're going to try and absolutely make war on every front occur, because we come right now to the end of an age, right now, and you can't transfer, as I'm led to understand, you can't transfer negative karma onto the end of an age. And so we arrive at this place now where we see this massive financial crash being orchestrated, you know, and this particle collider which is going to attempt to bust a hole in the side of this Earth for some kind of escape strategy, just to open up some kind of new world order, just to open up some kind of new world. And that brings us to the second element of what this video is about, which is about about Nibiru, Planet X. Some call it Nemesis. Commonly it's called, you know, our second binary sun. And you think 90%, 80-90% of all suns ever observed in our greater universe have been involved in binary relationships. So it wouldn't be a far-fetched concept to suggest that our sun is involved in a binary system, and it would explain a lot of the sort of movements that our ancients have calculated that our sun seems to make, that we've never been able to understand. Because how can something go up and down unless it's actually really just going round and round? You know, it's got these cyclic sort of motions, and we're starting to realise that our sun's involved in a binary system. Is it that much of a big deal? I don't know. But if it is involved in a binary system, then it is likely that at some stage we get closer to it and further away from it. And as I'm understanding, that is now coming in, and we've got so many witnesses of a second sun that's been in you know, you can see it as sunset. You can see, you know, we've been observing it over the last few days, because I'm here right now up in the Pyrenees trying to walk my talk, and I've left the UK because something very big is coming in, because our governments have desperately tried to orchestrate this war to make sure that they can bust a hole in the side of this world, and that's really happening. Even though you might think I'm mad when I say this, I've got to walk my truth. Like, we've all got to walk our truth, and I understand this thing's going to happen. And because of the decisions that have been made in the UK and America, this thing is going to massively affect the UK, because the karma of what we've done. You know, we're going for Assad at the moment. We say he's a war criminal. David Cameron keeps telling us that Assad is a war criminal. He supposedly gassed his people on the morning the UN weapons inspectors were in town. Is that really likely? You know, this country that manufactured everything itself. Look at Aleppo, where they had their massive, great seed storage, you know, organic seed storage. It's all been utterly destroyed. Why? To wipe out another sovereign country. That's what our governments do. And so we've got karma coming in. That's all this Nibiru and all this represents, is karma. And so this brings me to the third element of why I'm here in the mountains. I'm getting out of the way of what comes. But the thing is that you can't believe that. None of you can believe that. But some of you might have heard about this series of crop circles that have appeared in the Netherlands, that have been all authenticated with the heat nodes, that mean they haven't been man-made, haven't been created by human beings. Basically, they are genuine crop circles, as in created by an intelligence beyond man. And the translation of it, should I say, is that it's telling us that Nibiru is coming in. It's telling us that something very big is coming in, and that 7th of November is the date of this big alignment, planetary alignment. And it turns out that this is the date, supposedly, that Nibiru comes in, and this is also the date of this massive alignment that is actually going to occur. 5 planets, 6 if you include the moon. I know the moon's not a planet, but this massive alignment is going to occur on the 7th of November this year. And that's also my birthday. So I figured, I've got a political party called the Birthday Party, so I'm just going to invite you to my birthday party. That's the only solution, because you can't believe any of the stuff I've just told you. Really, realistically, I understand. I can barely believe it myself, and I've been writing and researching and doing lots of stuff on this to try and get my head around it, and I'm holding on with my fingernails with it myself, and so it's too much of a big step for you to believe. But you might be able to believe that it's my birthday on the 7th of November. That's not that far-fetched. And you might be able to go on to something like solarskype.com and actually have a look and just look at the alignment yourself that's going to occur on the 7th of November and think, wow, that is wow, that's big. And if you like what you see, then all I can tell you is get out of the UK and come to my birthday party. I've just got one little problem. I've got absolutely no money. I'm up here in the Pyrenees trying to get out of the way of Nibiru, and I'm realising that we need a seed bank up here. We need a seed bank, because the only thing that's going to stop absolute chaos after this thing comes in and to bring communities is seed and all the things that are going to be important for a community. So if you come up to the Pyrenees, I haven't got any land, I need money, I need support. I'm about to start releasing this second book, and I really need some financial help with that, because no way am I going to find a publisher for that, because all the publishers that I've ever seemed to find are all just, I don't know, they're hell-bent on supporting the New World Order and everything else like that, and we all have to do self-publishing. And I do alright, I've sold a few copies of Laughing Gas, but I'm never going to be able to support myself doing that. You know, it's one of those things that I need money, I need cash, I need finance, we need land to sort of like help communities come together. We need a lot of assistance, and seed is going to be the only thing left that is worth investing in after this goes down. It's going to be seed, seed, and seed. That's what it's all going to be about. No seed, there is no community, there's no future. And that's why Monsanto have bought out all the big seed companies, because they know they take away your seed, they take away your future. Job done. That's the only thing to invest in now, seed. And obviously land to plant it and that sort of stuff, but there's not going to be many people around after this, because most people aren't going to believe it's coming in. So there it is. It's your birthday party as much as mine, believe it or not. It represents the end of an age, and it represents the beginning of an age, this alignment. It's your birthday party. It's celebrating a new age, it's celebrating the end of an age. It's all about you folks, really. It's your birthday party as much as mine. It's just my birthday actually falls on that day for some odd reason, but then I am the leader of the birthday party, so there will always going to be a sense of irony in the whole thing. Not that I planned it that way, but there you go. It's just the gods having their last laugh, I suppose. But there you go. So happy birthday. And I might see you on the 7th of November, and if I don't, well, I'm going to see you on the other side. Or I'm completely mad and this isn't really happening and Dave's just on one. But if it does look like this is happening, and you suddenly realise that all this is going to come to pass, and it starts looking like, oh my god, and the sun gets blocked out on the last 3 days when this thing comes in, don't panic. Even if you can't get out of the way of this thing, it's all going to be all right. It's just the end of an age. It's not the end of your soul or anything else like that. It's just the end of a cycle. And if you couldn't follow your heart and you just rule by your beliefs, then you can learn a lot from that as well. But just remember, this is all just about teaching you peace. This is what happens with a nation that is obsessed by war. It was always going to end like this, one way or the other. And so you've learnt peace at the end of it. Even if you can't live beyond that time, you'll have learnt the woes of war. And that's all this is about. It's about learning what's right and what works and what doesn't really work. And war was never going to be an eternal technique.